Well, let's blow, baby. Did you get that pun? Hublot.
Oh.
I don't understand why you
What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian.
I'm not ready. No, just go. Now
Curator of the Theo and Harris Watch Shop.
I'm Michael.
Specialized.
This video's... it's
all right.
11.
Today we're talking... What are we talking about today, Big Mike?
Hublot.
Hublot. Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. Why we hate Hublot, right?
I don't mind Hublot.
Well, we're going to get into that. It's an arc. This is all planned. This is a show. Right. I actually like Hublot as well. But can we just,
You know what? I'm calling every watch YouTuber out, too. You like Hublot, too.
Nico!
We see
probably
owns one!
All right.
And we'll get into why later.
Today's episode is sponsored by...
Today's episode is sponsored by Watch Shells, and to quote you, it is almost your duty to protect your watch when you first purchase it.
Yes.
Watch Shells helps with that.
We'll talk more about watch shells later.
Yes.
Okay. Well, first wristwatch check, and then we'll get into Hublot.
Yes.
Today I am wearing my Rolex Datejust, reference 1601. There are others like it. It is rare, but there are others like it. But this one is mine.
Yes.
One of my children.
1971?
77. Elvis passed away. The Son of Sam was rampant. Hotel California was on the top of the charts.
That's a good song.
Yeah,
I can see why.
Song. Yeah. So anyway, I love this watch. I have been a not lifelong. That's dramatic. I have been a 10-year lover of the vintage Datejust. In fact, you know what's funny? You know when I really I clicked for me on the Datejust. It's not clicked, but I remember looking at a Rolex, looking at Rolexes. They were like $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. I was looking at Pateks as well, just for fun, like not to buy them. I had no money.
Yeah.
But I was looking at Pateks too. It was like $25,000, whatever. And then I discovered vintage watches. I swear to God. And at the time, a Datejust was like $3,000. Now they're more 45, 5, whatever. But at the time, they were really cheap. They were $3,000. And I'd be like, wait. This can't be right. That must be fake. And the same thing with Pateks, right? Calatravas that were $20,000 retail, they on the secondary market they were like $6,000, $5,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck are these? Is this a whole world of fake watches?
Yeah, right.
And the guy at a local jewelry shop said, no, they're vintage. And I was like, what the?
I love old things.
Who knew that I would base my entire personality off of exactly that for the rest of my life?
No, they're vintage. You're like,
oh, the what? That's my first favorite V word.
Tortoise glasses shoot onto your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. So, what are you wearing?
A Zenith.
A Zenith. There you go. Let's move on. There is no vintage Zenith. Don't they have like a watch that time something or something?
Oh yeah, the El Primero.
Yeah. In the last 5 years, the world has gone completely mad with sports watches.
Yes.
And
the values. And you're really saying the values.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
These bizarre times. If you are insistent on participating in this market,
yes,
it has forced us to look beyond the obvious choices of Patek and of AP. Right? Now, I still always say consider vintage, right? I always say look at vintage Cartier, even Santos's, look at Datejust, look at a whole host of different vintage watches, Omegas. That's what I wear and love, right? That's what I always have on my wrist. Yes. I think the proportions are great. The quality is remarkable. I don't need to play the Nautilus game because I feel very, very comfortable on my vintage Bombays and Constellations and linen dials and Dauphine hands, the 50s and the 60s and 70s. I love that stuff.
Yes.
And of course, if you're interested in that as well, go ahead and take a look at the Theo and Harris Watch Shop. It's all curated by me from all over the world, Japan, Utah, all over. And I have a blast doing it. So go take a look there. But if vintage isn't your thing, and I understand that, there are folks out there that are dead set on going modern and going, sporty and a little bit douchey. I get it.
Yes.
You got to look beyond the obvious choices because, frankly, you can't get the obvious choices.
Yeah, right.
So that kind of creates the catalyst, the door for this conversation.
Yes.
Because Hublot is fucking hateable. All right, so we're talking about Hublot. Clearly, we don't. I mean, actually, did we talk about Hublot before, Nico?
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about Hublot before you, Nico.
Conspiracy theory about
you
that.
talked about Hublot way better and way more famously than us.
Yes. You basically
You made this
You
famous.
basically, you basically took the whole Watch YouTube thing and
You
beat
basically
everybody doing it.
Yes, you're the landlord of Watch YouTube. Congratulations. You're
Thanks,
the man.
Dad.
He also shouted us out pretty recently, too.
He did.
Fantastically nice of you, Nico. Thank you so much. Shout out to Nico Leonard.
Yes.
Comment down below if you also are an admirer of Nico's. So Nico Leonard hates Hublot. And I see why. There's a lot to hate about Hublot.
Of course.
There is nothing, two things. There is no soul to this brand.
Yes.
There is none. It is
Marketing people.
marketing bullshit. And a lot of the fucking watches were manufactured like shit.
Yep.
Like average run of the mill fucking like no offense to Bell and Ross because they know exactly what they are and they play what they are. But average run of the mill $3,000 watches marketed as luxury through fucking soccer players and hip hop artists and bull.
They're this big,
Trying to play like EP and Paddock. Meanwhile, you are nothing like EP and Paddock, and you.
But sales-wise,
well, they did very well.
Yeah,
they made a fortune.
You can't complain.
Go
about
figure.
that.
When your margins are enormous,
Yeah.
it's crazy, right? Hublot became this fucking wildly famous.
Yeah.
They ripped off AP and Paddock in so many ways, right? They totally stole They combined the Aquanaut and the Offshore, and they made this classic fusion, Big Bang, all these things. It's bullshit. Right? Nothing original.
They were the guys that to the vanguards essentially run in AP and Paddock, and they're changing the world of being like, these are steel, luxurious watches, but they look hard, they look cool. Cartier then comes in, then Hublot is like, it's kind of a huge market here, don't you
huge
think?
market, and we could probably get this on the hype train.
Say it looks like a submarine window.
Hublot is a porthole window. I believe porthole is
Yeah.
So anyway, I get why people hate Hublot. I get it completely. And not to mention, I believe you me, I wouldn't be attending a Hublot owners conference because there would be a lot of Molly,
There'd be
a lot of tattoos, and a lot of very, very big, heavy
A lot of
lifting
supercars.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with supercars, but in the context
Well,
of
I
this.
do like a Bugatti.
I've heard of them. They seem very nice. I should say this. A lot of unnecessary revving of said supercars.
Yes, exactly. So
when the Hublot convention leaves, it is just a roar of thunder.
and a lot of STDs. And I have no interest in being associated with Hublot.
Right.
That all said.
Man, they make cool looking watches.
Man, they make cool watches.
Anytime we go to London Jewelers, who has a Hublot section, it's like my forbidden love. I'm like, oh.
So before we talk more about the specific Hublot watches that changed our minds, and how we went from lovers of Calatravas and Cartiers and Datejust to admirers of these horribly ostentatious watches, a quick note from our sponsor.
I will also say before the sponsor, I can't say I love this watch that's on the table that you can't see, and then say I don't like Hublot, because you could easily defeat me in a debate if I said it.
Right.
So we'll get into that. This video, though, is sponsored by Watch Shells. Actually, we have some B-roll of me adding on a protective film to Rolly, your father's GMT.
Yep. Two things should come as no surprise to people that are watching this channel. Number one, watches are rather expensive, and we should keep them in good condition.
Exactly.
And number two, that watches, particularly Rolex today, is manufactured far more as a piece of jewelry than it is as a classic tool watch. Okay.
Yes. That should not be a surprise.
Lending itself, meaning the polished center links, all these different polished edges, these very fine cuts, lending itself to be more susceptible to nicks and scratches.
Yes.
And now, of course, there's an entire world of people that say, you know what, I want to beat my watch up.
You should wear your watches, of course.
And I agree, you ought to wear your watches.
Yeah.
But I also know that there's an entire world of people, many of you guys out there, that say, geez, if there was a way to protect my watch without changing the beauty, without impeding on the aesthetic, I would be very interested in that. And that's exactly what Watch Shells does.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Their protective coating, which is impervious to all these nicks and scratches, it's a fantastic product.
Which you can protect. You can do a bunch of different things. Here's the interesting part. You could do just the actual watch head itself.
The clasp.
You could do just the clasp, or you can do the entire watch.
Yes.
And it's not hard to apply.
Exactly. So that's a remarkable service that not so long ago people, kind of dreamed about. If there could be an invisible
I've thought
coating
about
to
it
my
all the
watch.
time, yeah.
Exactly.
And at watch events we've gone to, people will sometimes be like, well, there's this like spray. I'm like, there's not.
There's not.
You're lying. You've
Exactly.
heard about this once from someone who said something.
Exactly.
But there is watch shells.
There is watch shells. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't wear your watch. I'm saying you should wear your watch. But I do think it's in everyone's best interest to protect said watch. And watch shells does a hell of a job protecting your watch from needless nicks and scratches to preserve it for the generations to come.
The nice thing about watch shells, though, is the protective film you may be associating with like a film that you would put on the face of your phone, right? Which eventually, gets bubbles, isn't that good if it gets wet or anything like that. Watch shells specifically engineers their films to not do any of that, and they have a trick for making sure that the film doesn't peel off the watch, obviously unless you want to peel it off yourself. The first thing that they really wanted to highlight was that, yes, if I put it on Rolly's GMT, for example, does he wear it in the water?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, because the watch shell's film can get submerged in the water and not come off, which is fantastic. Obviously, he uses it outside. He's in the sun a lot. He's tanning. He's doing his thing. The actual film is very resistant to getting discolored, so turning yellow, that you see happen a lot. And then the final thing, this is probably the coolest part because it's a very simple engineering trick, but instead of having sharp corners on the film, it's rounded, so that way it actually basically misses the edge of a watch a little bit, so it's very hard for it to actually peel off. And everything is extremely precisely milled, so I'm literally putting the clasp around the Rolex logo, and there are little ridges where the coronet is to fit in between.
Wow.
And all that being said, they give you all the tools to apply it, and it's not that hard. You get both sides wet, and it basically slides on to the spot you need it. You let it dry for 3 minutes. Boom.
Incredible. I think it's wild. And the first time that I ever actually saw watch shells was not when we made contact with them. I was actually at coffee with a client. He was looking at buying a Rolex 1803.
Yes.
And he said, one of the reasons, it's bizarre, he goes, one of the reasons why I don't want to buy vintage is because, I'm afraid of the nicks and the scratches. He goes, look at my watch. And he was wearing a GMT Master on an Oyster bracelet. And he goes, look at my watch. Do you see nicks and scratches? And I was like, no, it looks very clean. Take good care of your watch. He goes, look closer at it. And I noticed when I was holding it in my hand, looking at it very closely, I noticed this fine film, and I was like, what the fuck is that? I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's watch shells. You got to blah, blah, you got to do it, blah, 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 blah. And he had it on all of his Rolex sports models. And he had a ton of Rolex sports models.
Wow.
And he had it on all of them. Because, listen, plenty of people, don't want to age their watch in daily use.
Right.
They just don't want that.
Yeah.
They want to protect it. And I don't blame them.
And if it looks like your watch and you can't really see the film,
Yep.
what's the footprint at?
Exactly.
So, anyways, thank you so much to Watch Shells. Check out more information in the description. They have a ton of customer testimonials and pictures, so you can see it for yourself. But thank you again.
Back into Hublot.
Yes.
There are a couple of watches that communicate a message to me that I somewhat like. Okay. Number one, I go to their sapphire chronograph.
Oh, not what I expect you to say. The watch is made out of sapphire.
Yes.
Yes.
I think that watch was unbelievable. So it's the Unico Sapphire 42 millimeter watch, and I held it for the first time when I was at London Jewelers.
Yes.
And London is an authorized dealer of Hublot. And I saw this watch and I said, holy shit, this is one of the most wild things I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
There's all these brands, playing with alternative materials, whether it be carbon fiber or titanium or tantalum in the case of FP Journe, and that's
Ceramic,
great.
sure.
It's great. But oftentimes it's a fun fact. It's like, that's not steel, right?
Yeah.
It's our proprietary, rose gold mixture. Okay, cool.
Which means they added copper.
Right.
Right.
But to see a watch that was just visually, like it changed my perception of kind of how a watch case could be manufactured.
Yeah.
I said, you didn't just make this in sapphire, which is what you make it in titanium, you make it in this, you make it in that. Like the case itself, is this piece of art.
Yeah.
It's ultra light. Yeah, you can see through it.
The fact that we got was that it was synthetic sapphire.
Yes.
I was like,
yeah, I was like, cool.
Okay, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's
I don't
fine.
care. I mean,
sure.
I don't know how the cleaning process works.
Sure.
Because I could imagine that watch could yellow.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
And I have heard that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
But this watch blew me away.
Yes.
And I know it's dumb, but I was impressed, and it's so unlike me. That watch is so unlike me. It's got nothing to do with me. I wear Cartier and Rolex. That watch was very fucking cool on my wrist.
And And this is where people freak out. It's not this, it's not that, but the movement, but this. It's like, okay, obviously we're playing with house money here. A $70,000 watch.
Right.
It's just like, I don't know. That's a cool looking watch. I haven't seen a watch like that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
And I have a Zenith Defy carbon fiber. Most people, I should say, even watch people, don't like that it feels like a toy.
Right.
It feels like a Happy Meal.
Yes.
I think that is fascinating. I think it's so cool that there's all these weird properties that come with carbon fiber.
Mm-hmm.
My friend used to work in carbon fiber. He thinks this is like a modern marvel. He's like, that is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, and I know to you, it's like, well, that's so fun. Like, I want to see what you did with that. I want to see how you did that. What are the properties? Why is it so light? This and that. I think that's amazing.
I also love the bright colors, which is this is a less intelligent kind of thing to appreciate. I also love this watch, this Big Bang Unico Summer.
Yes.
Again, a ton of layers and levels on the dial throughout the watch. There's a ton of detail. I loved how thin the strap was compared to the case, so that was really good proportion play.
Yep.
I thought it was the perfect watch. Again, it sounds ridiculous, but it was a perfect summer watch. I mean, for a lot of people. Again, is it me? No, it's not me. It's also at 42. It is too big for me. But I thought it was fucking interesting as shit, and I really, really admired it. Now, I guess what I like about Hublot is how ridiculous a lot of these watches are. It's a ridiculous watch.
It is, and same with this, the Zenith carbon fiber. It is, if you took a G-Shock and
made it luxury.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's exactly my thing. I love G-Shock, and that's why, and my theory, and I think it's right, is that's why I like this Zenith Defy so much. That's why I like these Hublots. I'm like, it's just a G-Shock.
Right.
You know?
Now, I understand why people don't like Hublot, like we said before. I
We
get
both
it.
understand.
I
Yes,
get that.
yes.
But I guess 2 points. Number one, particularly on these chronographs, the quality of the watch is fantastic. Now, I'm not saying at $26,000 it represents value. I don't know. That's a tough call.
Sure.
It's not far off.
Yeah.
I could see representing value, around 22, right? And but we're not that far off.
This
right?
is 20,000.
Right. We're not that far off. That being said, they up the quality of their watches. So you can't say they're selling dog shit, but they're marketing it well. That's not true about these watches. And second, I personally don't think that Hublot takes themselves that seriously. Whereas if they, and I don't want to get into too much about other brands, but AP seems to be doing a very similar tactic of whoring out their collections and their models in different colors. And
especially now.
They are better. Right? Hublot, to me, it's like luxury Swatch in many ways. It's playful, it's fucking nuts, it's weird, and it's fun. Don't take it too seriously. It's Swatch for rich people.
Exactly.
Not
Exactly.
the entire collection, because they've got plenty of watches that have nothing to do with it. But the watches that I like, those colorful, particularly the chronographs, I think are great designs. I don't like the Classic Fusion so much. I think it's too reductive.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's reductive. I think that it's too much like its inspirations. And you mean these super complicated ones?
But look at this. Look, this is the crazy. This is the fascinating part.
Pretty good.
$16,000. Classic Fusion Aerofusion Moonface Titanium 42 millimeters. It's a little too big, but that's a beautiful looking watch.
Yes, it is.
That is $4,000 cheaper than the watch right in front of you.
Yeah. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's actually a great watch.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I was speaking specifically about the time onlys.
Of course,
I don't love
of course.
those.
Yep.
But this is a great watch as well.
I would love to have a Classic Fusion Aerofusion Moonface Titanium. I would hate to say the name.
Yeah.
And hate to get tracked down by Nico, but that's an incredibly beautiful watch.
I think it's a beautiful watch.
Yeah.
That's done very well. Again, 42 millimeters is too big for my wrist. But for
here.
a lot of people out there that are looking at getting a steel sports watch, you can get a pretty complicated one. Again, I don't like the standard non-complicated versions. I think they're too simple, and I just don't like them.
Yep.
But here, this is elevated at $16,400. I think that's a lot of watch. I really do.
I really do too.
Just the same way that I think the 26 is tough to say if it represents value, but in the mid-20s, I think that the chronographs are great. I think they're great. Again, we're living in a bizarre world right now with watches, where what is good is so overvalued. It's so overvalued.
That's a very good point.
We have to look around. We have to, kind of reassess who we should be giving our attention to. And I'm not saying that we need to, go and
go
become
all grab
Hublot
Hublots.
fanboys.
Right,
No,
of
because
course.
look at these Classic Fusions. I don't love them. I really don't. I find them pedestrian in many ways.
Yeah.
I don't like them. That being said, there are some great options in the Hublot catalog. So I kind of like the brand. I mean, I get why they're hateable, but I
do too.
I think you can also kind of get why we like them.
If you look at this Classic Fusion Aerofusion Moonface Titanium and you say that's an ugly watch, okay, fine.
All right.
But really,
Yeah, right.
You know, and then compared to some of the watches in that price range, it's like, no, that's a cool looking watch.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm kind of a Hublot fan. They're too big for me, but I'm kind of an Hublot fan, and I would point my friends in the direction of buying one. And that sounds, again, if they
Sam, get a Hublot.
If they were insistent on buying a new, like a modern watch in the $12,000 to $25,000 range, and their thing was sports, Hublot would be. And they were like, "Oh, I want an AP."
Look at that.
Kind of.
A hell of a watch.
Hear me out is what I would say.
Right.
You know, hear me out. Because the Alpine Eagle is another option. I don't like it as much. I'm not a big Alpine Eagle fan. Great watch, great value. I don't like the bracelet enough. And this is complicated for another couple grand. Yeah. You know, so yeah, I'm a fan, guys. I'm a fucking Hublot fan. Sorry,
Whoops.
Nico, love you, but gotta disagree there, man. You know, I wouldn't share a spoon with a Hublot owner because I'd be afraid of the disease I would catch. But
of course,
that being said,
now twists and turns. When we both have one, would you use my spoon?
Thank you guys so much for joining us today on this bizarre topic. You know, it's a controversial
bizarre
topic.
day. Yes.
Go on over to the Theo and Harris Watch and Strap Shop. We just listed a whole bunch of straps. Actually, these new travel rolls as well. This green Saffiano,
2 watches
and 4 here. So fantastic stuff. It's new to the inventory. Go take a look before it all sells out. Take a look at vintage Rolex and Omega as well in the Theo and Harris Watch Shop. There's a ton of incredible stuff, all personally curated by myself. Yes. And that's it. We'll see you guys soon.